Greetings, YouTube. This is your good friend Fragments of Memory, aka the Armchair Philosopher. Well, I'm responding to a video that my good buddy Testizel, the ghetto Cyrano, did. It was called Raise Your Kids. And he talked about how children are becoming more wild and unruly and undisciplined. Um, the one thing I would say to that is I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that I've had incidents in my own personal life where I've seen children act wild, either at the grocery store, at the bus stop. At my job, I work at an ice cream store, and I just remember I see all these little children, and many of them are Caucasian, they're not black. And many of these children are just running around uncontrollably, playing in things, getting into things, and the parents are just sitting around socializing with each other, but they're not paying attention to what their children are getting into. So it just fascinates me. And I've even had children throw temper tantrums in the store because they didn't get the ice cream portions that they wanted, and it gets crazy. Um, when you're dealing with single parenthood, yes, single parents do have a lot on their plate, i.e., not just trying to take care of themselves, but take care of any offspring they might have. And yeah, right. I do. I also want to put out there that yes, there are a lot of guys out here who all they did was catch a nut and run, as you say, and that seems to be all that's all they did. So now you have that woman that's stuck with that responsibility. What's interesting is that sometimes it's not just blacks, sometimes it's white, sometimes it's interracial. So that's a whole nother thing too. And I also agree that sometimes it is due to the fact that women pursue or chase the wrong man. They end up with the gentleman, and I use that term loosely. They end up with the guy that is promiscuous or is not good for them. But yet he's either he's a thug, he got swag, and that's what women seem to go for. So now when they've got this baby and the guy is left. So I think number one, I think that many of these ladies should be more selective in the partners that they choose. And then they should be careful with their sexuality, i.e., using protection, prophylactics. And then if you end up having a kid after all of that, take care of that kid. And for the guys out here, don't be out here just slinging and then leaving. Don't catch your nut and run. If she was good enough to lay up with, she's either good enough to be in a relationship with, or if you can't be in the relationship with her, then stand by your child because your child didn't ask to do all that. Yep. Then one thing he did go on was about how don't be don't be that parent whose kid looks ratty and just dilapidated, and you looking like you stepping out of issue of GQ, smelling like Polo Blue while your kid is stinky and you can't even throw some Dial soap on the kid. And they sell Dial soap cheap at the dollar store, so don't even get it twisted. Go to the dollar store, Family Dollar, Dollar General. Some store is gonna have Dial soap on sale, and you can scrub. And if you can't get Dial, get the generic brand and wash your kids with it. I mean, because that's what you're supposed to do. Just like these ladies who, they get their hair did and their nails did, you know, all of that, and the kids are looking ratty. The jeans are holy, or the clothing is dingy, but yet you look like you're just fabulous. Then, sister or brother, your priorities are jacked. Your priority is to the child. Of course, I like your little analogy, looking like Who Shot John. That is hilarious. And I have a buddy of mine. She's a single mom, and I mean, she takes care of her daughter well. But your life is no longer your own when you have a child. Like I'm single, I don't have any kids, but once you introduce a child into the mix, I'm imagining your life is not your own because you now have to take care of your child and you have to make sure that they're safe. And I've talked about this ad nauseum before, but yes, raise your children. And you all aren't going to look good when the children are in a situation. You all don't look, y'all don't need to look good when children are involved. Sometimes you got to go without so your daughter can have a meal on the table. You got to go without so your son won't be in the dark when he gets home from school. And there is something very valid that if you don't raise your children to know the difference between right and wrong, to act a certain way in certain settings, if you don't do that, law enforcement will, the police officer will, the CO will, the judge will, and they're not going to be as loving and kind as you are, or as kind-hearted as you are, because children do need guidance. I did like your little Taekwon. Taekwon, really? That's a funny name. But you know, little Taekwon does pop up. Her name popping up in circles because she hasn't learned the guidance of not being so loose around the boys. I like tonight I heard a little story about a young lady, she's 16, she's getting the curves and the body that accompanies being a 16-year-old. The mother of this young lady was just talking about how all the little boys was following after her. And she's went saying, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't dress certain ways because you don't want her to be the girl with the reputation." And another thing is, you can't party like a rock star and F like a porn star when you have children. You just can't do it. You can't party like a rock star. It don't work that way. Because it seems all eyes are on everything but the children these days when it comes to the parent. That parent is being selfish if they are not taking care of the child and disciplining that child, because now that child will eventually become a problem for society or the society around it. And of course, when society has a problem, it deals with it accordingly, even if they wouldn't have dealt with it in the way you would have. So I would strongly suggest to those parents that are taking care of their children, just raise your children and raise them to be the best individuals possible. That's my 2 cents. Take care.